Hey MatPat, there's a TV marathon on today of famous fictional doctors. Want to watch with me?
Sure. Who's on first?
No, he's on second.
Who is?
Yes.
Let me try that again. Who's on first?
No.
Why not?
No's first.
It's very strange.
No, Strange is third.
Why won't you just
Give me a straight answer!
I did.
I'm pretty sure you didn't.
Well, what's your question?
Tell me who's on first.
No.
Ugh. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that'll attempt to prove what countless quantum physicists don't really care about. Can a Time Lord really exist? Last time we talked about his alien biology, 2 hearts, low body temperature, and the 10th Doctor's dreaminess. Oh my. But on to the next issue. Time travel. Let's face it, we all love it. People have basically been fantasizing about moving backwards in time ever since we started moving forwards through it. Everything from, would that I had a timeless machinist to bump off that Brutus years ago, to, man, I shouldn't have uploaded that video of me lip-syncing to Numa Numa up on YouTube. But will we ever find out if it's possible? How would we avoid all the paradoxes? Will I ever find that elusive hot tub time machine? So many questions. But that's okay, we're here to look at all the evidence, pore over all the research, then handpick the pieces that sound cool. Just kidding. Kind of. Okay, let's get to it. The Doctor can travel back and forth in time at will with his handy-dandy time machine, sadly not a hot tub, but a TARDIS, which, if you've been living under a Dalek and don't know, stands for Time and Relative Dimension in Space. Besides being the biggest merchandisable set piece ever to have come from a TV series, the TARDIS is an unsuspicious telephone booth that can move the Doctor through time or space. Can you hear me now? Good. So clearly there's some science fiction going on here, and to prove our Time Lord theory, we need to focus on the science. To do that, we need to start with this guy. You're probably most familiar with his work on Facebook, where his head's superimposed next to inspirational quotes about our place in the universe. You know, those quotes that probably weren't even his, but we believe were because it's on Facebook. Well, beyond teaching that a dream is a wish that your heart makes, that's Disney. Albert Einstein showed us a lot about time, including the fact that it can be deceiving. Or more specifically, he taught us that time is relative. It can change based on its relation to something else. And with that confusing revelation, the theory of relativity was born. To Einstein, time is a 4th dimension, beyond length, width, and height. Unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to teach us that the 5th dimension is love. Interstellar. Maybe one day I'll talk about you. Maybe. For the first 3 dimensions, we can choose which way to go, forward or backward. For every time we go up, we can always go down. For every time we walk forward, we can always walk the same number of steps backward. But for time, we can't choose our direction. We can only go forward. That is, until we get in the TARDIS. The TARDIS lets us keep moving forward and backward in all the dimensions we already know, but it also lets us go forward and backward in the time dimension. It's like a Control-Z key for your life. Should have become a YouTube Let's Player in 2009? Just backing on up. How's it going, bros? This is MatPat. So, is it possible? Well, it turns out Einstein was an OG theorist. But hey, that's just a theory. A quantum mechanical paradox theory. No wonder his channel doesn't have that many subscribers. Anyway, his theory of special relativity is the basis for all modern time travel theories. In case you missed this one in freshman physics, his theory of relativity can be summed up by saying that the rules of time change the faster you're traveling. What that means is once you start to travel close to the speed of light, what you reach is a relativistic speed. At this point, your time relative to everybody else starts to change so that your time is actually slower than everyone else's. It's a very similar phenomenon to when you're waiting in line at the DMV or waiting for Star Wars to come out. Time slows to a crawl. Anyway, because time passes slower for you, when you return to the rest of the world, it's like you've jumped forward in time. Only a little time has passed for you, but a lot of time has passed for everyone else. They're suddenly older than you. It's better than plastic surgery. And it makes a lot of sense with what we see in the TARDIS. You get in, you speed away, and it looks like you're moving so fast you must be traveling close to the speed of light, which is exactly the speed you'd need to travel through time, going forward. Realistically, we can explain all the times the TARDIS moves forward through time using relativity, definitely a point in the Time Lord's existing column, but that's obviously only half the battle. So okay then, what about going in the other direction? Let's talk about going back.
Back to the future.
No, Doc Brown, we just did that. Back to the past. Just back to the past. The problem is, traveling backwards in time, it's really complicated. There are theories, so many theories about how it's possible, from cosmic strings to faster-than-light neutrinos. So where do we start? Well, the series points us to one theory in particular. At the very beginning of every episode of Doctor Who, the wormhole. It's a hypothetical tunnel that acts like a shortcut from one point in the universe to another. It could bridge two completely different universes, or two parts of one universe, or even 2 points in time. A wormhole would allow a Cyberman, for instance, to travel from one point to another faster than the speed of light, by taking a shortcut through space-time via the wormhole. Whether or not you really understand the physics of it, it sounds easy, right? TARDIS enters tunnel in space, comes out on the other end, wherever that end is. But there's a problem with that. As good as the show makes it look, wormholes are actually a messy business. Keeping a wormhole stable enough for anything to actually make it through would require huge amounts of what physicists call exotic matter. Let me take a moment to read the note I have for my editor in the script here. Dear Thomas, please put a picture of matter in a stripper costume for this moment. Love, MatPat. Behind the scenes at Film Theory, ladies and gentlemen. Matter in stripper costumes. Highbrow YouTube entertainment. Exotic matter has all kinds of bizarre qualities that we're not going to get into here. But let's really be nice here and give the Time Lords the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that the TARDIS is able to maintain wormhole stability and travel through it unharmed. Would they actually be able to get back in time? Well, the answer is both yes and no. The problem with wormholes is actually less about the how they work and more about the when they work. Physicists believe that in theory you can actually use a wormhole to travel back in time to the time that the wormhole was created. Want to go back to see that hilarious time when everyone had the Black Plague? Knee-slapping riot, that one. You'd actually have to have been at the Black Plague the first time and intentionally set up a wormhole for yourself so you could come back and relive those beautiful moments of pustular swelling. A wormhole is basically just like a glorified web browser bookmark, like the Watch Later tab or the YouTube subscribe button, letting you earmark moments in time you might want to come back to later. But if you've never been there before, there's no way you could create the wormhole you'd need, and there's no solid evidence of the Doctors setting up wormholes as little reminders to themselves to come back later. Quite honestly, it's really difficult to believe that the Doctor could actually be able to use a wormhole to travel back in time. So despite the fact that Doctor Who seems to use wormholes as his mail tube through space-time, according to modern physics, without that initial wormhole being created as early in time as possible, there are just certain moments in time the Doctor wouldn't be able to access. Again, is it possible that because the Doctor is a Time Lord, he was actually there in all those other times to set up wormholes? Yes. I mean, let's face it, this is a fantasy show where anything's possible, but we're gonna rule it out because we never see direct evidence that he does it in the series. So okay, no wormholes, but what if it were something else? Something that looked similar, but functioned slightly differently. Well, it turns out that I'm not the only one interested in trying to get the TARDIS through time. Recently, two physicists and fellow Time Lord aficionados Ben Tippett and David Sang of the Gallifrey Polytechnic Institute and Gallifrey Institute of Technology, otherwise known as GalTech. GalTech. Sounds just like a super geeky Tinder. Oh, her Bose-Einstein condensate is nowhere close to absolute zero. Swipe left. It's also worth pointing out that those aren't real institutions. They're references to the show. Anyway, they wrote a paper called Transversable Achronal Retrograde Domains in Space-Time, or TARDIS. Ah, I see what you guys did there. To show how the Doctor's time-traveling blue box could actually exist in our universe. In theory. In film theory. It's more of a TV show theory, but we're talking about it now. The paper shows how traveling back up your own time stream is possible inside the TARDIS using what's known as a Tipler cylinder. No, not Tipper cylinders, but good early 2000s political reference there. That was a joke for the old people. A Tipler cylinder is actually a whole nother level of physicsy weirdness, and was actually really challenging to research. But I think it provides an interesting explanation for our Whovian conundrum. A Tipler cylinder is literally a cylinder of space-time, which, interesting, looks a lot like our wormhole from earlier on, but actually has different properties for matter that travels through it. The cylinder itself is made up of lots and lots of dense mass, including positive and negative matter. Our Whovian physicists explain that the TARDIS's ability to move through a Tipler cylinder depends on the angle at which you enter the cylinder. If you enter it straight on, then you're kinda screwed, because you're headed straight for the central point of gravity way in the center of this thing, so that once you enter, you're unable to leave without literally going faster than the speed of light. Not ideal. But what if you enter it at an angle? Models of Tipler cylinders today theorize that if you enter the cylinder on an angle, remember this is an angle of not just space, but space-time, that you'd be able to escape being caught in the cylinder forever. Instead, you'd basically surf across the inside of the cylinder at an angle and end up in a position where you actually continue following the curve of the cylinder backwards in time, because that makes a whole lot of sense. Essentially, the TARDIS would be riding a curve of time, or what's known in quantum physics as a closed time curve, or CTC. A CTC would allow the TARDIS to escape getting crushed forever in the mass of the cylinder and explore any number of infinite time curves all around the Tipler cylinder. So, unlike our wormhole before, the TARDIS isn't trying to travel through it, it's trying to curve around it. You can even see this in the opening sequence that the TARDIS isn't really moving in a straight line, it moves at angles. This just looks like an accidental or stylistic choice, but it actually corresponds well with the turns and angles you would need while traveling at relativistic speeds through a Tipler cylinder to successfully travel back in time. So the next time you hear about the Doctor traveling through a wormhole to go save the galaxy, remember that he's actually hopping into a Tipler cylinder and surfing across the surface of space-time to go save the galaxy. If you didn't understand any of that last paragraph, I don't blame you. Theoretical physics is weird. I'm still trying to wrap my head around a lot of this stuff. But it's a cool thing to whip out at a party in a conversation. Tell that to your friends. It'll make you seem smart and super cool. Well, you know, it'll make you seem smart. Let's just stick with smart. So shockingly, after 2 rounds, the score still stands in favor of the existence of Time Lords. And if you think we're done here, you should be right, but we're not. Because history actually has reports of one man who has mysteriously seemed to be a Time Lord in disguise. We're actually going to talk about him, the mysterious real-life Doctor, next time. I guess if they can go through 12 Doctors, I can go through 3 episodes. That's only fair. So in the meantime, remember, that's just a theory. A quantum mechanical paradox theory. And cut. Physicists cannot say the word physicists. Physicists. Hey, do you like the opening theme to Film Theory? Or honestly, a lot of the tracks that we use across both game theorists and film theorists? Then please do yourself a favor and check out my dear friend Carf Darko. He's been kind enough to support game theory and film theory as well as all the other shows on both channels for nearly 3 years now, with his incredible musical talents. So if you need some catchy tunes to rock out to, or work out to, working out, that just ain't me. But hey, if you're doing it, more power to you. I support your struggle. Then please go check out his channel by clicking right here. This is a man who truly puts his everything into every piece of music that he puts out, so give him some support. His talent and dedication make it more than worth your time. And once you've done that, click here to check out our first episode on Doctor Who, covering some crazy biological things, like the fact that you, yes you dear viewer, had 2 hearts at one point in your life. Wild, right? Or if you're into the science stuff and saw that one, click here to check out how Dragon Ball Z characters perform energy waves. There's a lot of really awesome matter physics in that one. Still working on harnessing my key energy. And I think that's about it. So now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go take some medicine. Red pill or blue pill?